"Get your broke self out of this lobby before we charge you for trespassing." The officer's command cut through the air, sharp and humiliating. Guests froze mid-check-in at the Golden Haven Hotel, eyes wide with disbelief. But Amani Rivers didn't flinch. She stood firm behind the counter she had built from the ground up, every inch of her radiating quiet power. To the cops and her scheming manager, she was just another black woman out of place. But the moment they cuffed her, the countdown began. By morning, the truth would explode. Badges would be gone, and careers would end. The morning sun had been beautiful that day, streaming through the golden-tinted windows of her hotel, casting soft patterns across the marble floor. Amani moved through her lobby with graceful confidence, her heels tapping lightly against the stone. She wore a cream-colored blazer and a golden silk scarf, her signature touch, perfectly matching the hotel's elegant glow. "Good morning, Mrs. Peterson," she greeted a smiling elderly guest who stayed there often. "Like a dream, as always," Mrs. Peterson replied warmly. "Your new mattresses are heaven sent." At the front desk, Gloria James, the hotel's senior staff member, was humming an old gospel tune while polishing the brass fixtures until they shone. Amani laid a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Those handles have never looked better, Gloria." Gloria smiled, proud. "Can't have anything less than perfect in our house, Ms. Rivers." Behind the counter stood Logan Shaw, the hotel's general manager, his tie-to-tight, his expression tighter. His fingers tapped impatiently on the keyboard as if her presence annoyed him. Amani noticed the stiffness in his jaw. It always happened when she called the hotel our house. Later, in her office overlooking the lobby, she opened her laptop and saw a new 5-star review pop up online. "The Golden Haven isn't just a hotel. It's an experience in excellence," it read. A crown jewel of Savannah hospitality. A smile tugged at her lips. This was her father's dream come true. He'd once worked as a porter in this same building, 60 years ago. Now, his daughter owned it. A knock interrupted her thoughts. Logan Shaw entered, his smile forced. "Miss Rivers, I wanted to discuss appearance standards again," he began. "Some of our housekeeping staff are wearing rather ethnic hairstyles. I'm just concerned about maintaining a professional image." Amani's face stayed calm, but her stomach tightened. "Our staff's natural hair is professional, Mr. Shaw. We've been through this before. Our clientele has certain expectations. Yes, they expect excellent service," she cut in smoothly, "which they receive." Logan's nostrils flared slightly. "The weekend numbers." He was interrupted by the sound of footsteps. "Morning, Mama," came her son's voice. Deshaun Rivers filled the doorway, tall and broad-shouldered, his military bearing unmistakable. "Morning, baby," she said, smiling. He handed her a folder. "New linen suppliers' prices are better. Same quality." The restaurant's produce delivery had some issues, though. Logan took the chance to leave. "We're expecting the Thompson wedding party soon," he said briskly, escaping the tension. Deshaun watched him go. "I don't trust that man." "Neither do I," she sighed, "but he knows his job and brings in business." "Yeah," Deshaun muttered. "A certain kind of business." Amani looked out the window. Down in the lobby, Gloria was arranging fresh flowers. A young black family was checking in the little girl twirling on the pattern carpet. "When I was that age," Amani said softly, "we couldn't even stay in hotels like this." Now she can see someone who looks like her owning one. Then something caught her eye. Near the elevators, Logan was speaking in low tones with a man in an expensive gray suit. Their handshake looked too secretive, too practiced. The man turned, and her heart sank. Councilman Walter Reeve, the chairman of the Urban Renewal Committee, known for revitalizing neighborhoods by pushing out black-owned businesses. Deshaun noticed her tense expression. "You okay, Mama?" "I'm fine," she replied, but her eyes followed Reeve until he vanished through the revolving door. That afternoon, the lobby was busy with a teachers' convention. Laughter and chatter filled the air. Gloria stood by the entrance, helping an elderly delivery man rest on one of the plush benches. His shirt was soaked with sweat. "Take your time, Mr. Washington," Gloria said kindly, handing him a glass of water. "Thank you, ma single quotes am. Been delivering since dawn," he replied. The peaceful moment shattered when Logan stormed across the lobby. "What is this?" he barked. We're not running a homeless shelter. Mr. Washington is our linen driver, Gloria said, startled. I don't care who he claims to be. This is a 4-star hotel, not some rest stop. Get him out. Amani's office door opened. Her voice carried through the lobby, calm but powerful. That's enough, Mr. Shaw. The crowd fell silent as she walked toward them, heels clicking across marble. Mr. Washington has been delivering for us 3 years, she said firmly. He's a valued partner, and Gloria was right to offer him water on a day like this. Logan's face reddened. You don't make those decisions. I'm the general manager, and I say he leaves. Then you're making a serious mistake, she replied. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You need to stop undermining my authority. Guests started recording on their phones. I expect you to apologize, Amani said, still calm. I don't take orders from you, Logan snapped. He pulled out his phone. Yes, police. We have an aggressive woman refusing to leave our premises. Gasps filled the room. Mr. Shaw, you can't. Gloria tried to intervene. She's becoming hostile, Logan continued into the phone. Send officers immediately. He hung up and smiled coldly. Now we'll see who really runs this place. Moments later, sirens wailed outside. 3 officers burst through the revolving doors. This woman, Logan pointed dramatically, is disturbing our guests. I am Amani Rivers, the owner of this hotel, she said, reaching for her purse. I can show you. One officer grabbed her wrist hard. Stop right there. I'm just getting my ID, before she could finish. He twisted her arm behind her back and slammed her into the counter. The crack of her glasses breaking echoed through the lobby. Guests screamed as cameras flashed. She's not resisting, Gloria cried. She owns this hotel. Sure she does, one of the officers sneered. Blood ran down Amani's cheek. She stayed still, breathing slow. Years of discipline told her not to panic. Mom. Deshawn's voice thundered as he burst in. Get off her. That's my mother. 2 officers grabbed him, pulling their tasers. Stay back. She owns this building. He shouted. Check her ID. Phones recorded everything. Some guests yelled in protest, but Logan just stood there, smiling. The officers cuffed Amani and pulled her to her feet. Blood stained her cream blouse. Gloria sobbed openly. Her name's on everything. Look at the photos on the wall. The officers didn't listen. They led her outside into the harsh sunlight. Her hotel gleamed behind her, beautiful and golden, while she, its owner, stood humiliated in handcuffs. But even as they pushed her into the police car, her mind stayed sharp. She thought of the security footage, the witnesses, the paperwork in her office safe. They had chosen the wrong woman to humiliate. As the cruiser drove away, the Golden Haven shrank in the rearview mirror, but Amani's dignity did not. Not yet, not ever. The fluorescent lights inside the police station flickered above her, cold and harsh. Amani Rivers sat at a metal desk, her wrists throbbing from the cuffs that had cut into her skin. Her face was bruised, her lips split, but her posture remained straight, her expression calm. Across the room, 2 officers leaned against a counter, laughing. Can you believe these people? One said, always claiming to own something. Yeah, the other replied. Next thing you know, she'll say she owns the whole city. They laughed again. Amani stared at the wall ahead of her, unmoving. Every word they spoke was burned into her memory. She had survived worse humiliation than this. But she was also cataloging everything, faces, names, the sound of their voices, all evidence for the fight that would come. The booking officer cleared his throat. Name, look up your city tax records. She replied calmly, listen, lady, we can do this the easy way, or... The door swung open before he could finish. Heels clicked sharply across the tile floor. A woman in a tailored suit entered with authority that silenced the room. Remove those handcuffs from my client immediately, she ordered. It was Patel, Amani's attorney and longtime friend. Her dark eyes burned with fury as she dropped a thick folder onto the desk. Ma'am, this is a restricted area, the officer stammered. These are property deeds, business licenses, and tax records for the Golden Haven Hotel, she said, spreading the documents like weapons. My client, Dr. Amani Rivers, is the sole owner of that property. She pointed to each paper one by one. Here's the certificate of occupancy. Here's last month's tax payment. And this," she tapped a letter, "is from your own police chief, thanking her for hosting your department's charity gala, free of charge." The room fell silent. The officers' laughter died instantly. Faces paled. Through the window, flashing lights from news cameras began to glow. Reporters had gathered outside. Drawn by word of the arrest, Sergeant Heller appeared in the doorway, his earlier arrogance gone. Behind him stood Officer Clean, the one who had slammed her into the counter, now frozen with guilt. "I want those cuffs off now," J demanded. "Or you can explain to the press why you're detaining a respected business owner after assaulting her in her own hotel." The officer fumbled with his keys and unlocked the cuffs. Amani rubbed her sore wrists, red marks deep against her dark skin. "The captain would like to speak with you." Heller began nervously. "Ms. Rivers will not be speaking to anyone." J cut him off. "We're leaving, and you'll be hearing from my office regarding civil rights violations, assault, false arrest, and public humiliation." The captain himself appeared, sweating under the fluorescent light. "Ms. Rivers, please accept our sincerest, save it," J said coldly. "We'll speak in court." Amani rose, smoothing her torn, blood-stained blouse with quiet dignity. Her glasses were broken, hanging from her pocket. Every eye in the station followed her as she and J walked out, through the glass doors. Camera flashes exploded like lightning. "Ms. Rivers," reporters shouted. "Do you have a statement?" She stopped on the steps, the sunset burning orange behind her. Her voice was calm, but strong. "Sometimes silence is the loudest protest." The cameras flashed again as she turned away. Inside Gia's car, the world outside blurred by. For the first time since the morning, Amani let her shoulders drop. Her phone buzzed constantly, missed calls, messages, social media alerts. J passed it to her. "It's everywhere," she said quietly. "On every major network." The headline screamed, "Black hotel owner arrested for trespassing in her own business." By morning, the video had gone viral. Dozens of guests had recorded every second, from Logan's smug phone call to the moment Amani's face hit the marble counter. When Amani woke up the next day, her phone hadn't stopped buzzing. 57 missed calls, hundreds of messages. The video was all over CNN, Twitter, everywhere. "Mom." Deshaun called from the hallway. "You need to see this." He stood at her bedroom door holding his tablet, his jaw tight with anger. On the screen, the footage replayed in an endless loop. Her arrest, her fall, the blood. The crowd shouting that she owned the hotel. "It's everywhere," he said again, voice breaking. Amani sat down, scrolling through comments. Civil rights groups were demanding an investigation. Black business associations were organizing protests. The Golden Haven had become a national symbol overnight. The hotel board's meeting in an hour. Deshaun said, "They want you on the call." At exactly 7 a.m., Amani appeared on the video conference. Her white blazer was crisp, her posture flawless despite the bruises on her cheek. "Ms. Rivers," said the chairman, his voice heavy with sympathy, on behalf of the board, "we are appalled by what happened. We reviewed the footage and the staff statements. Mr. Logan Shaw is terminated, effective immediately." Another board member added, "We're releasing a public statement within the hour." Her phone buzzed again. The police department had announced that all 3 officers involved were suspended pending investigation. It wasn't justice yet, but it was a start. Then, as if fate wasn't done, another headline flashed across the news ticker. "Councilman Reeve denies involvement in hotel scandal." But a photo surfaced, him in the Golden Haven lobby, shaking hands with Logan Shaw the morning before the arrest. The connection was undeniable. By noon, justice for Golden Haven was trending nationwide. Protesters had gathered outside the police station, holding signs that read "Dignity has no color, and she owns it." At the hotel, the mood had shifted. The teachers' convention members voted to extend their stay in solidarity. Other guests booked rooms just to show support. Gloria, her arm in a sling from the chaos, brought Amani a cup of tea. "Those officers had no right, Ms. Rivers. No right at all. We're still here," Amani replied softly, still standing. Just then, her phone rang. Unknown number. She put it on speaker. A distorted voice came through. "You should have just sold the hotel." Then the line went dead. Deshaun looked up, his jaw tightening. "We'll trace it." But Amani's eyes didn't waver. "No." She said, "We'll prepare." That night, the city glowed with flashing lights from news vans parked along the street. Inside the Golden Haven, her staff worked quietly, mending, cleaning, rebuilding morale. But none of them noticed the shadowed figure across the street watching from a dark SUV. 2 days later, glass shattered across the marble floor. A brick flew through the front window with a crash that echoed through the lobby. Screams erupted. Deshaun rushed forward while Gloria ducked behind her cleaning cart. The note tied to the brick was short, typed on expensive letterhead. "Next time, it won't be glass." Amani picked up the brick, feeling its weight in her hand, the same weight of every barrier she'd ever faced. "Get the maintenance team," she said calmly. "We'll board it up tonight. Tomorrow, we order stronger glass." By morning, the broken window had been boarded up, its plywood patch standing out against the hotel's golden glass front. The sun was barely up, but Amani was already in the lobby, giving orders to the maintenance crew. The air outside felt thick and heavy, the kind of humid Savannah morning that carried more tension than breeze. At precisely 8:47 a.m., 3 city vehicles pulled up to the curb. 6 men in khaki uniforms stepped out, clipboards in hand. Their leader, a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses, walked in with fake confidence and said flatly, "Building inspection. Immediate safety assessment." Amani stepped from her office, poised as ever. "I wasn't notified of any scheduled inspection," she said. "Complaint-driven inspection," the man replied without meeting her eyes. "We received multiple reports of foundation and fire safety concerns." "How convenient," she said quietly. Deshaun appeared beside her, his posture sharp and alert. He handed her a small note he'd scribbled. "Clean's car parked across the street." The inspectors fanned out through the hotel, snapping photos, muttering among themselves, pointing at cracks and corners like they'd found proof of disaster. Amani called Ja immediately. "They're manufacturing violations," she said. "I'm on my way," Ja replied. 20 minutes later, the attorney stormed through the front doors, heels clicking against marble. "Good morning, gentlemen," she said coolly. "Let's see your authorization forms and complaint documentation." The lead inspector stammered. "This is a routine. Nothing about this is routine." Ja interrupted sharply. "Complaint-driven inspections require 24-hour notice. Under City Ordinance 47.3. She took photos of their badges and vehicles. And I'm sure the federal civil rights investigators will be very interested in this coordinated harassment." The inspectors exchanged nervous glances. Within minutes, they packed up and left. Outside, Deshaun watched as Officer Clean's unmarked car slowly drove away. Ja closed her notebook. "They're scared," she said. "They should be," Amani replied. "They just made their second mistake." Later that afternoon, Amani met her Aunt Leah for lunch at their usual cafe 2 blocks away. The elderly woman sat waiting at their favorite table, her silver hair glowing in the sunlight. "You look tired, child," she said as Amani sat down. "I am," Amani admitted. "They're coming at us from every direction." "Of course they are," Leah said, stirring her tea. "You scared them. And there's nothing more dangerous to people like that than a black woman who won't back down." Her voice softened. "That's why you can't get tired. That's what they're counting on." "They want the land," Amani said quietly. "They always have," Leah replied. "Your daddy bought that building when downtown was dying. Now it's worth gold, and they can't stand that we own a piece of it." "I won't sell," Amani said firmly. "Of course you won't," Leah smiled, her eyes fierce. "You're going to make them choke on their own corruption." Their food arrived, shrimp and grits for Leah, salmon salad for Amani. The peaceful moment didn't last long. Her phone buzzed. It was Eddie Chen, the investigative podcaster known for digging up city scandals. "I've been following the money," he said, his voice quick with excitement. Logan Shaw's personal accounts show monthly deposits from a company called Savco Holdings. Large deposits, starting right after he was hired. "Savco," Amani repeated. "Yep, it's a shell company. Guess who's listed as one of the founders?" Eddie paused. "Councilman Walter Reeve." Amani's jaw tightened. "Kickbacks," she said. "He was their inside man." "That's exactly what it looks like," Eddie replied. When the call ended, Aunt Leah shook her head slowly. "The Lord may work in mysterious ways," she said, "but karma, she works right out in the open." That afternoon, Amani, Leah, Deshawn, and Jia gathered in Gia's downtown office. The space looked like a war room, papers, diagrams, and photographs covering every inch of the walls. Jia pointed to a whiteboard filled with notes and arrows. Logan was paid $15,000 every month, double his actual salary. Every payment came the day after a Savco property deal. Deshawn crossed his arms. "Blood money. They've done this before," Leah murmured. 30 pieces of silver to betray your own people." Amani stood in front of the board, studying the red marks that traced a clear pattern. Police harassment, building inspections, property damage. "They target us in stages," she said quietly. "Police first, then city inspections, then an offer to buy." Jia nodded. "And they hide it behind fancy words like urban renewal." "They never expected someone like me," Amani said. "Not a former civil rights investigator with documentation of everything." Jia smiled faintly. "They definitely didn't expect your son to be an expert in cybersecurity either." Deshawn grinned. "Let me show you what I've found." He pulled up a file on his laptop, a list of businesses in Savannah's historic district. "Every black-owned business that's been hit in the past year," he said. "Fake violations, vandalism, harassment. And every single one of them sold to Savco Holdings within 6 months." "That's a pattern," Jia said. "It's a playbook," Amani corrected. "They call it progress. We call it theft." "We'll need more than outrage," Jia said. "We'll need proof that ties them all together." "We already have it," Deshawn said. Eddie found emails linking Reeves' committee to Savco's purchases. Reeve and Heller both show up in the financial records. Leah leaned back, shaking her head. Same evil, just wearing nicer suits. By evening, they had built a timeline connecting everything: harassment, false inspections, the attempted intimidation, and even the explosion threats that hadn't yet come to light. "The community needs to know," Amani said. "We can't keep this behind closed doors." "Agreed," Jia said. "Let's show them everything." 2 hours later, Golden Heaven's grand ballroom was filled with people, business owners, teachers, church leaders, and residents who had seen the viral videos. Deshawn managed security, keeping watch near the doors. Just set up a projector displaying evidence: bank transfers, police call logs, property records. When Amani stepped to the podium, the room fell silent. "They thought arresting me would silence us," she began. Instead, it exposed their entire operation. She clicked through slides showing every black-owned business Savco had taken over. "They're not just buying buildings," she said. "They're trying to erase our history." Heads nodded. People murmured in anger and agreement. An elderly shop owner stood. "That's exactly what they did to my brother's garage. And to my sister's restaurant," another woman called out. Aunt Leah rose slowly, her presence commanding. "Some of you were my students," she said. "I taught you about Reconstruction, how they tried to push us out back then. This is the same fight in new clothes." She stepped beside Amani. "But this time, we have something they don't expect: unity, evidence, and righteous anger." She lifted her hand and began to pray, her voice strong and full of power. "Lord, give us the strength to fight smart. Give us the patience to fight long. And give us the wisdom to fight together." "Amen," the crowd thundered. For the next hour, people signed petitions, shared stories, and volunteered. Business owners exchanged numbers. Church leaders offered meeting spaces. The room buzzed with purpose and hope. As the meeting ended, Deshawn noticed something through the hotel's remaining intact window. A black SUV sat idling across the street, its engine running quietly. The tinted window rolled down just enough for a dark silhouette to watch them. Then it drove off into the night, tires screeching. Deshawn's jaw tightened. "They're watching," he said quietly. "I know," Amani replied, eyes still on the window. "Let them. We're not hiding anymore." That night, Savannah didn't sleep. News anchors replayed clips of the Golden Haven meeting, analyzing every word, every name mentioned. Councilman Reeves' photo flashed on every screen, his smile growing shakier with each passing hour. Inside the hotel, the staff worked late, fixing broken windows and repainting scuffed walls. Gloria hummed quietly as she swept, her gospel tune echoing softly through the lobby. Deshawn sat near the front desk, laptop open, eyes scanning data streams. Amani stood by the window, staring out at the city lights reflecting on the Savannah River. "It's strange," she said softly. "They tried to shame me in this lobby, but now this place has become a voice for everyone they've hurt." Deshawn didn't look up. "And that's what scares them, Mama. They can handle lawsuits, but they can't handle truth." The next morning, Amani received an email from a private number. It had no subject line, just one attachment: a photo of her standing outside the police station the day she was released. Scrawled across it in red letters were the words, "You're next." J arrived minutes later, her expression tight. "They're escalating," she said. "But this is good. Threats mean pressure, and pressure means fear." "I'm not scared," Amani replied calmly. "But I'm done letting them play offense." J nodded. "Then we fight on your terms." That afternoon, Eddie Chen released his podcast episode. Its title, The Golden Haven Files, Corruption in the Heart of Savannah. Within an hour, it was trending nationwide. Eddie's smooth voice narrated the story like a detective uncovering rot under marble floors. He laid out everything: the bribery, the fake inspections, the harassment, ending with the chilling phrase, "And this time, they messed with the wrong woman." By evening, federal investigators had arrived in Savannah. News vans lined the block outside the Golden Haven. Reporters crowded the sidewalks, hoping for a glimpse of the woman who had become a symbol of defiance. Amani stepped outside wearing her cream suit again, the one she'd worn the day she was arrested. The bruises on her face had faded, but her eyes still held the same quiet fire. "Ms. Rivers," a reporter called. "What do you want to say to the people responsible?" She paused, the cameras flashing. "Tell them I forgive them," she said softly, "but I will never let them forget what they did." The crowd erupted in applause. Back inside, Gloria clapped her hands together. "That right there," she said, grinning through tears, "is how queens speak." Over the next few days, the investigation widened. Bank statements leaked to the press, showing Reeves' hidden accounts in the Cayman Islands. Internal city emails revealed a web of favoritism and payoffs. The mayor called for Reeves' resignation. Reeve, desperate, went live on television, denying everything. But when asked about Savco Holdings, he stuttered, his hands trembling. That same night, Deshawn's laptop pinged. "Got something," he said. "Look at this." He turned the screen toward his mother and Ja. It was a security footage clip from the hotel's underground parking lot, dated the night before the brick was thrown. A tall man in a police jacket entered through the service door, carrying a small bag. He placed it behind a maintenance cart and left quickly. Ja frowned. "Pause that, zoom in." The badge number on the jacket was barely visible but clear enough to trace. "Heller," Deshawn said quietly. "The same officer from the arrest." Ja exhaled slowly. He planted something. They hurried to the basement. Deshawn found the old maintenance cart in the corner, covered with dust. Hidden beneath a loose panel was a small device, a black recorder, blinking faintly. "Good thing you never throw anything away," Ja said. Deshawn connected the recorder to his laptop. A moment later, a distorted conversation filled the speakers. "Make sure it looks like an inspection issue," a voice said. "She'll either sell or go bankrupt trying to fight us." "Don't worry," another voice replied. "Logan's already on payroll." Gia's eyes widened. "That's Reeve and Heller, clear as day." "Now we have their voices," Deshawn said. "Not just rumors." Amani stared at the laptop screen, her face unreadable. "Then tomorrow," she said softly, "we let Savannah hear them too." The next morning, she held a press conference on the hotel steps. Cameras, microphones, and flashing lights turned the golden entrance into a stage. She stepped up to the podium, the recorder in her hand. "For weeks, I have watched powerful men try to destroy everything my family built," she began. "They called it progress. I call it theft. They called it business. I call it betrayal." She pressed play. The voices of Reeve and Heller filled the speakers, echoing across the street. The crowd gasped. Reporters leaned closer, recording every word. When the recording ended, the silence was electric. "Justice," Amani said slowly, "isn't something we wait for. It's something we demand." Applause erupted. People began chanting her name. That afternoon, the Savannah Police Department suspended Heller and Clean indefinitely. Reeves' office was raided by federal agents. Footage of him being let out in handcuffs played across every major news network. By nightfall, the Golden Heavens sign glowed brighter than ever. Guests left flowers by the entrance, some leaving notes of support. A little girl placed a drawing on the door. A stick-figure woman standing proudly beside a shining hotel. Amani knelt to look at it. The words scrawled beneath said, "She owns it." Her throat tightened as she smiled. Later that night, she sat on the rooftop balcony, the city's hum soft beneath her. Deshawn joined her with 2 cups of coffee. "Think they'll try again?" he asked. "Oh, they'll try," she said. "But now the whole world's watching." They sat in silence for a moment, the warm night breeze brushing past. "Mama," Deshawn said after a while, "I know you're not done yet." "What's next?" Amani's eyes drifted toward the glowing skyline. "Next," she said, "we rebuild what they tried to take. Not just for us, for everyone who's ever been told they don't belong in their own story." Deshawn smiled. "Sounds like a good start." Below them, the Golden Haven shimmered like a promise, proof that no amount of hate could dim a light built on love, work, and pride. But far below, in a parked car across the street, a shadowy figure made a call. "She's not backing down," the voice said. A pause, "then we'll have to make her." Rain fell hard that night, washing the streets of Savannah in silver streaks. Thunder rolled across the sky as if echoing the tension that had been building for weeks. Inside the Golden Haven, most of the guests had checked in early to escape the storm. The lobby glowed warmly, the chandelier flickering from the wind rattling the windows. Amani stood by the reception desk, reviewing documents while Gloria locked up the gift shop. Deshawn was upstairs, checking the security system one more time. Ever since the threats began, he had upgraded every camera, added encrypted backups, and installed motion sensors near every entrance. Just as the rain reached its loudest, a sudden pop cut through the sound, followed by darkness. The lights went out. Gloria gasped, "Lord, not tonight." The emergency lights kicked in, bathing the lobby in a dim red glow. Deshawn's voice came through the walkie-talkie. "Backup power's out too. That's not a coincidence." He rushed downstairs, flashlight in hand. The main circuit box is fried. Someone overloaded it. Before anyone could respond, a faint click echoed near the entrance, the unmistakable sound of a door unlocking from the outside. "Stay here," Deshawn whispered, moving toward the sound. But Amani followed him. "No," she said. "If they came for us, we face them together." Through the glass doors, lightning flashed, and for a split second, a silhouette appeared. A man, hooded, drenched in rain, holding something metallic. Deshawn pulled his mother behind the counter as the figure entered. The metallic object clattered to the floor, not a weapon, but a gasoline can. Gloria's eyes widened in horror. "They're gonna burn the place down." Deshawn lunged forward, tackling the man before he could light anything. They struggled on the wet floor, the can spilling fuel across the marble. The sharp scent filled the air. Another shadow appeared at the door, then another. 3 men, all wearing black, stepping inside quietly. "Back up," one shouted, raising a metal rod. Deshawn stood between them and his mother. "You'll have to go through me first." Before they could move, the sound of sirens wailed in the distance. "Cops are coming," Gloria yelled. Somebody must have triggered the silent alarm. The intruders panicked. One grabbed the gasoline can. Another kicked Deshawn in the ribs, sending him crashing into a chair. The third man threw something toward the counter, a small device that beeped rapidly. "Get down," Deshawn shouted. The explosion wasn't huge, but it was enough to blow out the windows. Shards of glass rained across the lobby. The men fled into the night as sirens screamed closer. When the smoke cleared, the lobby was wrecked, walls scorched, curtains burned, and water pouring through the shattered windows. Amani coughed through the haze, helping Gloria to her feet. "Are you hurt?" "I'm okay," Gloria said, trembling. "Just shaken." Deshawn limped over, blood on his arm. They knew exactly where to hit. Minutes later, police and fire crews flooded the scene. Reporters soon followed, cameras rolling, shouting questions over the chaos. Arrived within the hour, her hair wet from the rain, but her eyes blazing. "They just turned this from corruption to terrorism," she said bitterly. "They wanted me scared," Amani said softly, staring at the charred counter. "They wanted me broken. But they just gave us the final piece," Joe replied. "Security footage, eyewitnesses, arson evidence. This is federal now." As dawn broke, firefighters declared the building safe. Smoke still rose in wisps from the burned walls. Amani walked through the damage slowly, touching the cracked marble columns and scorched wallpaper. Every corner told a story, one of struggle, but also of survival. A few guests stood outside in robes and coats, watching silently. When she stepped out, they began to clap softly. Others joined in until the sound filled the street, not applause for fame, but for strength. A teacher from the convention stepped forward. "We're not leaving," she said. "You kept us safe last night. We'll help you rebuild." Amani smiled faintly, emotion flickering behind her tired eyes. "Then we rebuild together." Later that morning, federal agents met with Ja and Deshawn in the hotel's conference room. One of them, Agent Torres, looked serious. "We've identified the suspects," he said. "One of them's a private contractor, used to work for the city. The others have connections to Savco Holdings." "So it was ordered," Ja said. Torres nodded. "And we have reason to believe Reeve wasn't acting alone. There are others behind him." "Bigger fish," Deshawn muttered. Torres leaned forward. "We'll need Ms. Rivers to testify publicly once charges are filed. Her story could shift this whole city." Amani didn't hesitate. "I'll testify," she said. "They silenced too many voices before mine. That ends now." Over the next few days, donations poured in from across the country. Messages of support flooded the hotel's inbox. The Golden Heavens GoFundMe page hit $100,000 within a day. Even major celebrities shared her story online, calling her the woman who turned injustice into change. But with every light came more shadow. That same night, Deshawn found another note slipped under the service door. "You don't know who you're dealing with." He handed it to his mother silently. She read it once, then tore it in half. "I know exactly who I'm dealing with," she said. "Men who think power makes them untouchable. But power built on fear always falls." The next morning, she put on her cream blazer again and stood in front of her staff in the half-burned lobby. "We're not victims," she said, her voice steady. "We are proof. Proof that no amount of hate can stop what's meant to rise. They tried to destroy this place, but all they did was remind us why it exists." Her words brought tears to Gloria's eyes. Deshawn stood tall beside her, his arm bandaged, but his spirit unshaken. Outside, the city was already stirring. Protesters marched downtown holding banners that read "Justice for Amani" and "Hands off our businesses." The Golden Haven had become more than a hotel now. It was a symbol of resistance, pride, and the quiet power of standing firm. But deep inside City Hall, another meeting was taking place, one that would decide how far the fight would go. In a dim office, two men sat across from each other, speaking in low tones. "She's not backing down," one said. The other nodded slowly. "Then we take it higher. If she wants a war, we'll give her one." Outside, thunder rolled again, and somewhere across the city, Amani Rivers felt it in her bones. The storm wasn't over. Not yet. The storm had passed, but Savannah still felt unsettled. Newspapers lined every corner shop with Amani's face printed on the front page. "Golden Haven attack sparks federal investigation." The headline ran across every local network. Inside her office, the morning light fell through the cracked blinds, cutting across her desk in golden stripes. Amani sat quietly, sipping coffee as she reread a letter from the Justice Department. It confirmed what she already knew. Her testimony would be the key to exposing the city's corruption network. Deshawn entered, his phone in hand. "They just released Reeves' statement," he said. "He's blaming everything on the police." Amani sighed. Cowards always point downward when the walls close in. She arrived moments later, her briefcase heavy with documents. "The feds are ready," she said. "We testify tomorrow morning. They'll have the press there. It's going to be huge." "Then let's finish this," Amani said calmly. But beneath her composure, her nerves were coiled tight. She wasn't afraid for herself. She was afraid of what desperate men might do when they had nothing left to lose. That evening, She walked through the half-repaired lobby. Workers hammered, painted, and swept, turning destruction into rebirth. The golden chandelier had been cleaned and rehung. Its light reflected in the new glass windows, a symbol of everything that refused to die. Gloria handed her a folder. "These are all the thank you letters people sent. You should read them, Ms. Rivers." Amani opened the folder. Inside were dozens of handwritten notes from teachers, business owners, even children. One read, "You made me believe I could open my own shop one day." Another said, "You showed me what strength looks like." She smiled faintly, wiping away a tear. "They think I gave them hope," she said softly. "But truth is, they gave it back to me." That night, as she was locking up, Deshawn's phone buzzed with a new alert. "Mom, you need to see this." On his screen was a leaked police memo. It detailed new charges against Officer Heller and Logan Shaw: conspiracy, tampering with evidence, and bribery. But one name on the list made her freeze. Councilwoman Renee Dalton. "She's on the mayor's committee," just said when she arrived moments later. She must have been part of the cover-up. Amani shook her head slowly. "I knew there were more hands in the pot. I just didn't know they reached that high." Reeves' arrest scared them, Deshawn said. "Now they're cleaning up, throwing each other under the bus." Ja nodded. "And that's our opening. Once you testify, they'll have nowhere left to hide." But as they spoke, none of them noticed the dark car idling across the street or the man sitting inside, watching through binoculars. He held a walkie-talkie, his voice calm. "She's still inside. Window lights are off. Wait for my signal." 2 blocks away, another car waited. Inside were 2 men in plain clothes, both tense, both armed. One of them looked uneasy. "You sure about this?" he asked. "Orders are orders," the other replied coldly. "No witnesses. No trial." Back at the hotel, Amani was writing her closing statement for court when she felt it, a strange vibration, through the floor. Deshawn was upstairs running maintenance checks, so she ignored it at first. But then it came again, stronger. She stood and looked toward the lobby. The lights flickered once, then twice. "Deshawn," she called, no answer. She walked into the hallway. The silence was unnerving. Only the faint hum of the air vents broke it. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw movement outside. A flash of reflection near the window. Her heart skipped. She grabbed her phone and dialed Deshawn. "Mom, get out of there," he said urgently. Now, before she could reply, the sound of glass shattering echoed through the lobby. A smoke canister rolled across the floor, hissing and filling the air with gray fog. Amani covered her mouth, coughing, her eyes burning. She tried to run toward the side door, but a figure emerged through the smoke, tall, dressed in black, his face covered. He grabbed her arm. "You should have sold the hotel," he growled. Before he could drag her, Deshawn came charging down the stairs, tackling the man to the ground. The struggle was fierce, violent. The intruder swung wildly, striking Deshawn across the face with a flashlight. Amani screamed, grabbing the fire extinguisher from the wall. She swung it with all her strength, hitting the man's shoulder. He stumbled back, cursing, and fled through the open door as sirens blared again in the distance. Police cars surrounded the hotel within minutes. Officers flooded the lobby, securing the area. Agent Torres arrived shortly after, his expression grim. "We've got him on camera," he said. "Your security system caught everything. That's attempted murder, Ms. Rivers." Deshawn held an ice pack to his jaw. He said something about orders, he told the agent, like someone higher told him to do it. Torres nodded. "We'll trace it, but you two need protection until the hearing." The next morning, the sun rose red over Savannah, the kind of sunrise that feels both heavy and holy. The Golden Haven was quiet except for the sound of construction outside. Amani stood at her window, watching the city wake. "You ready?" Ja asked behind her. "Yes," she said, "but not just for court." Ja tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "I'm done reacting," Amani replied. "It's time to take control." At 9 a.m., the courthouse was packed. Reporters, activists, and local citizens filled the seats. The moment she entered, cameras flashed, capturing her every step. She walked with her head high, wearing her cream blazer again, the one that had become a symbol of resilience. When she took the stand, the room went silent. The prosecutor asked her to describe what happened on the day of her arrest. She told it calmly, detail by detail, how she was handcuffed in her own lobby, how the officers mocked her, how she was treated like an intruder in a place she had built. Her voice never shook, but her words carried the weight of generations. "They wanted to erase me," she said. "Erase what I represented, success, ownership, and dignity. But what they didn't understand is that I am not the exception. I am the result of every person who refused to give up." People in the courtroom nodded, some wiping away tears. The defense tried to discredit her, but Jo was ready. She played the recordings, showed the photos, presented every piece of evidence they had gathered. Each revelation landed like a hammer. By the time she stepped down from the stand, even the judge looked moved. As they left the courthouse, a crowd outside began chanting her name. Am-ma-ni, Amani. She smiled, not out of pride, but relief. The truth was out. The lies had fallen. That night, she stood once more in the quiet of her hotel, staring at the glowing sign that still read Golden Haven. Gloria walked up beside her. "You think they'll ever stop trying?" Amani smiled softly. "No, but every time they come for one of us, they'll have to face all of us." The air outside carried the faint scent of rain again, not a storm this time, but renewal. Still, far away in a dark office, a man watched the live news feed. His face stayed calm, but his eyes burned cold. "She won today," he said quietly. "But the story's not over." He closed his laptop, the sound echoing like a warning. A week after the trial, the city of Savannah felt different. The streets buzzed with a new kind of energy, cautious, hopeful, alive. The news had spread everywhere. Councilman Reeve sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. Officer Heller dismissed and charged with assault and conspiracy. Savco Holdings under federal investigation for corruption and intimidation. Justice had arrived, slow, battered, but real. At the Golden Haven, the morning sun streamed through brand new windows, bathing the lobby in gold. Fresh flowers filled the vases. The scent of lavender and lemon polish lingered in the air. The marble floors had been scrubbed clean, but the faint scorch marks near the counter remained, a reminder of what the place had endured. Amani stood in the center of it all, her cream blazer pressed, her hair pulled neatly back. She watched her staff move with renewed pride. Gloria was laughing again, humming as she worked. Deshawn was adjusting the lobby lights, smiling at a group of guests checking in. For the first time in weeks, peace had returned. "Feels like home again," Gloria said softly, her eyes misty. "It always was," Amani replied. "They just forgot who it belonged to." Later that afternoon, the hotel hosted a special event, a community gathering organized by local business owners. The ballroom gleamed, filled with laughter and music. On the stage stood a simple banner that read, "Reclaiming Our City." People from all over Savannah came, shop owners, teachers, ministers, and students. Some carried signs that said, "We stand with Amani." Others simply came to thank her in person. Eddie Chen was there too, recording for his podcast. "The story," he told his listeners, "is no longer about corruption. It's about courage." As the crowd quieted, Jo took the stage. "When we first started this fight," she said, "we were told we couldn't win. That justice in this city was a privilege, not a promise. But this woman proved otherwise." She turned toward Amani. "Please welcome the heart and soul of this victory, Dr. Amani Rivers." The applause was thunderous. Amani stepped up to the microphone, her heart heavy yet full. "I don't stand here as a hero," she began softly. "I stand here as proof that truth still matters, that dignity still has power, and that silence is not an option." She paused, scanning the crowd, faces old and young, black and white, united by shared struggle. "They called this place Golden Haven long before I owned it," she continued. "But I've learned something through all of this. Gold doesn't shine because it's perfect. It shines because it survives the fire." The audience fell silent. Some people wiped their eyes. Others simply nodded, understanding every word. She smiled gently. "They burned our windows, but they couldn't burn our will. They cracked our marble, but not our foundation. This building stands today because the people who built it, you, refused to let it fall." A loud amen rose from somewhere in the back. "Now it's our turn," she said. to build again, to lift each other, to own our stories before someone else rewrites them. The room erupted in applause. After the event, people stayed long after the music ended. Kids danced in the aisles. Elders shared memories. Reporters captured smiles instead of scandals for the first time in months. Outside, as the evening sun painted the sky in orange and rose, Amani stood on the hotel steps, watching everyone leave with light in their eyes. Deshaun came up beside her, handing her a glass of lemonade. "You did it, Mama," he said quietly. "We did it," she corrected, smiling. "All of us." He looked out at the city. "You think they'll ever stop trying to take what's ours?" Amani took a slow sip before answering. "Maybe not. But every time they try, they remind us how strong we are when we stand together." Just then, a little girl ran up the steps. It was the same child who had drawn the picture weeks before. She held a new one now. This time, the hotel was drawn bigger, brighter, surrounded by smiling people. At the top, in wobbly handwriting, were the words, "The light still shines." Amani knelt down, her voice warm. "That's beautiful, sweetheart. What's your name?" "Janelle," the girl said proudly. "Well, Janelle," she smiled, "thank you. You just reminded me what this fight was for." The girl grinned and ran back to her mother. As the crowd dispersed, Amani lingered on the steps, the evening breeze lifting her scarf. The city lights flickered on one by one, their reflections dancing on the river. For a long time, she just stood there, breathing it all in, the laughter, the peace, the faint smell of rain in the air. Ja joined her quietly. "The governor's office called," she said. "They want to honor you at next month's business summit. Lifetime achievement in civil leadership." Amani chuckled softly. "I didn't fight for awards, Ja, I know," Ja said, smiling. "But it's nice when the world finally notices." The two women stood side by side in silence, watching the sun disappear behind the horizon. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, Amani walked alone through the empty hotel lobby. The lights dimmed low, soft music playing from the speakers. She stopped by the wall of portraits, old black and white photos of the building's early days. Her father's picture hung in the center, in his porter's uniform, smiling, proud. She reached up and touched the frame. "You see, Daddy," she whispered. "They tried to take it from us, but we held on." A single tear slid down her cheek, but this one wasn't from pain. It was peace. She turned off the last light and walked out into the night air. The golden heavens neon sign glowed above her, bright and unbroken. The city slept, but its story was awake, changed forever. And as she stepped into her car, the moonlight caught the gold letters on the hotel's door one last time, shining like a promise. Because in a world that tried to silence her, Amani Rivers had done the impossible. She turned injustice into legacy, and no one could ever take that away.